Good evening. Thank you all for coming out on this pleasant night in New York City. It's so great to have such a wonderful group. Our family considers it a great, great honor. Not only to hear from our very esteemed speaker in just a few moments, but to have each and every one of you here to share this evening with us and these words of Torah. I want to just begin on behalf of my father, Mr. Liam Wildes, my brother and sister-in-law, Michael Mamie, and Jill, and all of our kids that are here, and all of my brother's kids that are here. It's really an honor to welcome you to what I cannot believe is the 24th annual Yartzheit Lecture for our mother, Ruth Wildes Yartzheir Lecture. We are privileged to hear from an awesome personality, a TV and Torah personality. But before I call on Rachav Sivan Meir, I wanted to share a brief thought about my mother, Shalom, Pesel Avigal Bat Menachem, in whose memory this talk is dedicated, and in whose honor MJE was established 21 years ago. One of the most inspiring parts of the Torah is the reality. Before I actually continue on, I want to just also thank my dear colleagues, Rabbi Ezra Cohen and Rabbi Joshua Klein. And I want to thank Maya, and Kevin is here, and Chani, and I also want to welcome my good friends Daniel and Rachel Krause from the East Side, formerly of MJE staff. And just want to thank you for everything that you do to keep MJE the rocking place it is, thank God. So one of the most inspiring parts of the Torah is really the reality. And you don't see the reality of the lives of our patriarchs and our matriarchs as much as you do in these parashiyot, in Sefer Bereshit, in the book of Genesis. They're challenges and they're real stories that they faced in their lives. And one of those challenges is having children. All of our matriarchs, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, at one time or another were unable to bear children. And as we will read from this week's parasha, we read about Rachel's struggles with childbearing and how she and her beloved Yaakov, her beloved Jacob, dealt with this very challenging situation in her life. The Torah tells us, "Vatera Rachel ki lo yalda li Yaakov." Rachel saw that she was not bearing children for Yaakov, and this was particularly difficult for her because her sister Leah was having child after child. Vatkane Rachel bachota, and the Torah tells us very honestly that she became jealous of her sister. Vatomer el Yaakov, and what seems to be in some kind of desperation, she turns to her beloved Jacob and she says to him, Hava li banim, give me children. V'im ayin, and if not, meta anochi, I'm dead. Yaakov's response is even more difficult to understand. Vayichar af Yaakov b'Rachel. He becomes angry. And he says to her, Hatachat elokim anochi, am I instead of God? Asher manam yimech pri batem, was I the one? Am I the one who's preventing you from having children? So we can understand perhaps Rachel's distress, but Yaakov's response is difficult. How could Yaakov get angry? And the Ramban, the great Nachmanides, writes that he got angry because it seemed as though Rachel believed that a tzaddik, like her husband Jacob was, a righteous person, can make anything happen. Sort of snap his fingers and have a child. And the Ramban also wrote that it's inconceivable that Yaakov would not have davened for Rachel already, would not have prayed for her to have a child. So now she's coming to him and she's criticizing him for not doing anything. When it would be inconceivable, suggests Nachmanides, that he hadn't prayed for her. And that's why Yaakov answered Rachel by the way he did. He got upset because he felt that she somehow entertained incorrect views as in terms of the relationship of any human being or a righteous person and their prayers to God. We can't just pray and get what we want, not even at sounding. And the Radak and some of the other commentators speak along similar lines, explaining that Yaakov got angry because she seemed to be attributing too much power to Yaakov. But I saw what seems to be almost a progressive kind of explanation offered by the Akedat Yitzchak, Rabbi Isaac Arama, lived in the 1400s in Spain. And he says something very powerful. He says that a woman in the Torah was given two names. What are the two names that God gave women? Chava, good, and also Isha. Isha. So Isha is simply the feminine form of Ish, which is the Hebrew word for man. And Rabbi Arama, the Akedat Yitzchak, teaches that this explains the idea that a woman is taken from man, Isha, and therefore, just like a man must work to advance himself intellectually, morally, so too a woman must do the same thing. She has the same purpose and role as any man, to advance herself in the fields intellectually or morally or what have you. And the second name, Chava, why did God give the name Chava? Em Kol Chai. She's the mother of all living, to denote the unique aspect, the childbearing aspect, that only a woman can bring life into this world. And Yaakov gets angry with Rivka, suggests the Akedat Yitzchak, because by saying Havali Banim, V'im Ayin Meita Anochi, give me children or I'm dead, I have nothing left to me. Essentially what she was saying was, all I have is the childbearing aspect. That's all that defines me. She was completely denying the Isha aspect of her personality. And as important as the Torah views women having children, and I don't think anyone can underestimate how much the Torah views a woman's role in terms of childbearing, there is nonetheless another dimension to womanhood, and that is to advance oneself, whether it's in the intellectual realms, morally, spiritually, like any man. And this is, of course, not to negate the absolute significance and importance of having children. It's just to teach, says the Akedat Yitzchak, that it alone does not define womanhood. And I share this idea because our mother clearly viewed her role as mother, central to her existence. She absolutely loved and cherished being a mother. She took that role very seriously and with great pride. She was one of those mothers who could not stop talking about her children. She was like our walking resume. It was embarrassing often. But at the same time, she worked on herself to develop herself spiritually and as a leader in our community in Forest Hills, where we were raised in Queens. Our mother was first and foremost a very religious and spiritual person. She loved to learn, always running to classes, always urging our father to learn with us, which Baruch Hashem we continue to do to this day. She loved to daven, to pray regularly. She had this little book of Tehillim that I have by her bedside, and honestly one of the most difficult things when she became ill was her inability to daven. And I used to tell her, like it was somehow helpful to say that halachically you're not required, that chola, someone who's ill, is technically exempt from praying. But I realized very quickly that it was unhelpful because she needed to daven. She had that kind of relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And she was a tremendous leader in the community. In the mid to late 70s, there was a huge influx of Soviet Jews to the United States. I was convinced they all moved to my neighborhood in Forest Hills. And she spent a lot of time collecting furniture, clothing, helping countless families. And she was such a gracious host. Many of you have heard me speak of the way she opened her home on Shabbat to friends and to strangers alike. My first rabbi gig was in Forest Hills at the Queens Jewish Center. And I was single, so a big part of outreach is making Shabbos meals, which is always challenging when you don't have your own home or table. So I would schlep people home literally every Shabbos. And this was not simple for her because, you get a lot of lovely, elegant people and you get some strangers, not just strangers, but strange people as well. And she was just so elegant and gracious. She had this winter combination of warmth and elegance, which made people feel very welcome in our home. And this is why we dedicated MJE to her memory, to perpetuate the kindness that she so regularly practiced, the chesed that she did for so many individuals in our community. And we've tried these last 21 years to follow her model, opening our doors to literally tens of thousands of our Jewish brothers and sisters, and doing basically what our mother did every Shabbos, showing off how beautiful Shabbat is and the power of our community, and creating a venue in which, very proud to say, 323 couples have met and married over these last 21 years. My mother, you didn't clap for that, that's a big number. My mother would have been very, very proud of that accomplishment, and she was really both a chava, she was an im kol chai, she was a real mother, but she was also an isha. She was also someone who advanced herself morally and spiritually and helped many others to do the same. And I chose this Dvar Torah not only to speak about my mother, but to talk about the woman that we are privileged to hear from tonight, who also epitomizes this combination. Someone who has successfully combined these two powerful aspects of womanhood and ultimately creating a Kiddush Hashem, sanctifying God's name in the way that she lives personally and through her professional work as a TV personality, as an anchorwoman, as an author, and as a teacher of Torah. Sivan Rahav Meir served in the Galei Tzahal, which is the Army radio. She was first their correspondent for welfare and absorption, legal affairs, religious affairs, and when she finished her military service, she was appointed religious affairs reporter for Channel 2, and later their legal affairs reporter. And besides her work on Channel 2, Sivan writes for Yediot Achronot. She hosts a weekly radio show on Israel's Army radio, and she's interviewed, amongst others, Prime Minister Yitzchak Rabin, former Minister Shimon Peres, Zechronam Livracha, and more recently Sarah Netanyahu. And she has a fascinating story, which I hope she's going to share. She became religiously observant at the age of 18, and I just learned this in the other room, 7th generation Israeli, and has since developed herself into a wonderful teacher of Torah. Her amazing lectures on the parasha are attended by hundreds live and thousands more listeners throughout the world. She was voted by Globe's newspaper as the most popular female media personality in Israel, and by the Jerusalem Post as one of the 50 most influential Jews in the world. As a proud religious Zionist, a wife, a mother of 5 children, she combines her religious observance with her work as a successful TV reporter. In doing so, she serves as an awesome role model for us here at MJE and for our community, and someone that I know my mother would have absolutely admired and followed. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce Sivan Rahav Meir.
Wow. Toda Rabbi Wildes, for your beautiful, touching words about your mother, and for the exaggerated words about me. Thank you for exaggerating. You said the Mashiach came to Manhattan tonight. Thank you very much. But really, it's a pleasure to be here. I thank the Wildes family, the lawyer Michael Wildes, and he's the reason I'm here in the States. It's because of him and in his helpful way. He helped us arrange this shlichut. We're here for a year. Me, my husband Yedidia, and our 5 kids. We live this year here, North Woodmere, 5 towns. And I work a lot for the Mizrahi movement, World Mizrahi movement, also for YU, Stern College. And basically, I thought tonight, now after hearing your beautiful words, I think it even mentioned, what I prepared is really, really describe your mother. I prepared really something, a presentation that will work in a minute, and something that, in order to share like my life journey. I grew up in the city of Herzliya. It's in the center of Israel, near Tel Aviv. And at the age of 6, and I guess you know that at the age of 6 you already have like your self-esteem, how you see yourself in the society. So when I look back, I think I saw myself as a loser, completely, a failure. Okay, oh, he goes it. I was wondering, yeah, when it comes to technical things, I'm also a failure. Oh, much better. Thank you for that. You know, maybe it explains what just happened here. Everything people like did was so successful, and everything I tried to do, at the end of the day, ended up like really like a mess. All the kids had these cool hobbies, you know, in the afternoon they were like dancing, learning how to play the guitar, the flute, the piano, painting, drawing, sports, all kinds of activities. I was awful. Everything I tried like came out. And even today, you see the mic. If I had to change a light bulb, impossible. If I had to park in reverse, sorry. Driving forward, by the way, not something to write home about. So everything I tried, and I was already 6, and you feel quite bad. And then something changed at the age of 6, around 7. Something changed. It was during like elementary school, Bet Sefer Yesodi, Kita Aleph, first grade in Israel, Bet Sefer Lecture, a school in Herzliya. Teacher Riki, she was the Mora, the teacher. She taught us how to read and how to write alphabet, you know. And for me, it wasn't just a technical thing you learn at school. She was like giving me a gift and a skill. Something was revealed, you know, within me. And it was, for the first time, I felt I'm better than others. Now it's a huge, you know, you feel so good about yourself. When for the first time, you're not chasing them, you know, trying to, no, you're the best. They asked you to write something, to help them with, you know, reading, writing became my, you know, my thing. So the question is, what do you do? I see today as a mother, it's really hard. When a kid comes back, usually, I mean, if he comes back with, let's say, like a 50, okay? Yeah, very bad grade, right? Here, of course, you never got a 50, but my kids, and I came back home a lot of times with a beautiful 50, 50. So, what do? Usually when you see such a grade, you say, okay, that's an emergency. Here's an alarm. That's urgent, right? I have to take care of it. The kid is, you know. So I bring a tutor, you know, private teacher, someone sits with him, I sit with him, we work hard in order to improve, you know. And then at the end of the day, let's say it's okay, he gets like a 60, 70, oh, Baruch Hashem, he passed, Baruch Hashem, he's average. Okay, good, let's continue. Now let's say a kid comes back home with a me'ah. How's your Hebrew? We will go over Hebrew. Me'ah, what's that? 100, of course. Perfect 100. So then what do? That's not urgent. No alarm, nothing is an emergency. Oh, great, way to go, but when we lived in Yerushalayim, that's where we lived. So when a kid came back home with a me'ah, I said, oh, that's good, take your bicycle, go to Gan Sakir, you know where Gan Sakir is? The big gardens in the entrance to Yerushalayim. Buy yourself some ice cream, that's what as a prize, that's beautiful, good for you, Yishar Koach. Today, when they come back home with a me'ah, in the States, kids are less independent. I mean, in Yerushalayim, they were everywhere. You know, the Ravka, the prepaid card, the train, the buses, everything, central station. Here, the maximum, the best thing I can say is, oh, you got a me'ah, let's order something on Amazon Prime. That's the event, okay? Things are different here. So basically, but I would never tell him, oh, you got a me'ah. Wow, you must work harder, because you got a me'ah. You must work, let's bring it. No. That's okay, it's the maximum. I realized when I was seven, that what you learn at school is just the minimum. It's not the maximum. You should improve, you should develop, you should reach new, think of new ways to use this new skill. And that's what I did. I mean, I treated the notebooks and the books as, okay, that's the obvious thing. Now let's see what else can I do with this new skill. So I started writing to a kids magazine, and it was published back then during the 90s in Israel. I wrote a poem. That was the beginning of my journalism career. It was called, in Hebrew, Shir Ha'agvaniya, which means the tomato song, Shir Ha'agvaniya. And that was the beginning of my career. 4 lines, short song, 4 lines in Hebrew. It's about how I hate to eat the tomato, and my mommy forces me to eat the tomato or something. 4 lines. The end of the day, it was published. It was printed. 2 weeks later, and I became a celebrity, and I came to school. All the kids were like, wow. I mean, they read it, and they were passing it around, and the teachers read it. It was like, wow. So I tried again and again. I wrote the onion song, the mushroom song, the carrot song. I tried for a year. When I was at the age of 7 or 8, second grade, I realized poetry wasn't the right path. Let's try something new. Let's try to use this new skill in a better way. Working? No, protion. See? This? Oh, okay. How did you become a journalist? That's the question we're answering now, okay? You didn't have a clue. So, imagine a very, very boring shiur. The teacher is talking about something. The class is like trying to follow. I was sitting next to a girl. She was a friend of mine. Her name was Karen, and I sent her a note. Now I had no idea what was I doing. Okay, but these are really important moments in my life. I sent her a note. I wrote that Karen, is it true you adopted a dog? Because I heard a rumor they adopted their new dog. She wrote one word back, Ken, which means yes. Okay, so we have the potential here to ask another question, what's the name of the dog? She writes back, Rexy. What's the color? Brown. What's the type? Etc., etc. I had a mountain of notes, okay, at the end of this I had a mountain of notes on my desk, and I was just asking her, like, I think 30 or 40 different questions, like, how did your parents agree? She said, me and my brother, we promised them we'll take him out for a walk every morning. So I wrote, wow, we do wake up every morning. She's like, no, after 2 days we retired, we got tired, mommy's taking him out every day. Anyway, this whole interview, once again, I was having my first interview without even knowing what is an interview. I was like 8. I took the notes back home. I was rewriting everything, editing, reorganizing all the materials, and I sent it to this magazine, okay? 2 weeks later, imagine, a huge headline, 2 pages, and a huge headline, Karen and the dog. Everything you want to know about Rexy by Sivan Rahav, 7 years old from Herzliya. Boom. The next day, I walk into the class, a lot of enthusiasm. Karen comes in, a lot of enthusiasm. There was one person there who showed less enthusiasm. That was the teacher, obviously. She took Karen away. She changed the seats, the places where we sit in class. She switched everything. So she took Karen away. She brought another girl that was now sitting next to me. Her name was Shir. Now, use your imagination, okay? 2 weeks later, huge headline, 2 pages. Shir's napkin collection. That's what I do. That's the hobby I found. She was collecting napkins and etc., etc. It became a format. We used to say that every time the teacher would switch the seats in our class, she basically edited the next edition of that magazine. Every kid that came and sat next to me became an item. 35 kids, 35 interviews. Okay, finished. The whole class was interviewed. Oh Hashem. Was it a unique class? Was it a rare class? I don't think so. It was an average normal class in the city of Herzliya during the 90s in Israel. But the truth is, I think every person is unique. Everyone was created in a divine, special way. I was completely secular. I'll tell you in a few minutes how secular I was. But I think the first time I felt something spiritual, something divine, the first time maybe I felt Hashem was back then when I was looking at every child thinking, okay, what's special about her? What's unique about him? And I started realizing we all have a story, and there is no copy-paste when it comes to souls, to human beings. Okay? We're all very special, one-of-a-kind masterpiece. And then, okay, I finished it, as I said, I interviewed the whole class, what now? So we had all the grades, all the teachers, the principal, the nurse, the secretary of the school, the cleaner of the school. At the end of the day, I interviewed the whole school. Now what? I was invited then, for the first time, to the Israeli TV. I was 9 or 10, and they invited me, as a young girl, to interview old people. It became like a format. I asked like serious questions, but I'm just 9. But I interviewed like famous politicians, and all kinds of like figures, singers, celebrities, and it became like a gimmick. They liked it. I want to show you just one example from these days. That picture was taken during the 90s. This is Yitzchak Rabin, our former Prime Minister of blessed memory, and that's me sitting next to him. It was a primetime show on Channel 2. It was called the Dan Shilon Show, if we have any Israelis here. And I was interviewing Rabin for like 2-3 hours. We edited later, but we were sitting there for 2-3 hours. And basically, that's just one example. During that month, I remember I interviewed Yitzchak Rabin of blessed memory. A week later, Shimon Peres, the foreign minister of blessed memory. And a week later, the Power Rangers, they came to Israel. Exclusive interview. I met them at the Ben Gurion airport when they landed. I think I should also add of blessed memory because I think they're all, what's going on with the Power Rangers? Anyone? You have any idea? I'm not following it. Yeah? Someone? Maybe Zecher Tzatzuim Livracha. I don't know that. I'm not following. Anyway, so that was my childhood. I want to tell you it became a hobby, but the truth is school became the hobby, and that became the main thing I did. I was there every day interviewing people on like radio, TV, magazines, newspapers. I was all over. And so you could learn a lot from this story. You could look at it as a positive story of a girl, describing the gifts Hashem gave her and working hard in order to, use them, and instead of being like the last loser, trying to create new ways of, feeling better about yourself, Baruch Hashem. And I do think we can learn a lot from that. But that story is not so positive when we look at 4 factors. And I think that's one of Israel's problem up until today. If you know what's going on in Israel, I think I wasn't invited just because I was talented, Baruch Hashem. I think I was invited because of these 4 factors that really influenced the fact I was there. And I was there, I was taking someone else's seat when I was sitting there. So I meet people, I'm 38. When I meet people like approximately my age, they tell me, we watched you every day. We came back home from school, and we were watching you on TV. You were there every day, but we weren't there, never. And these kids are, I would say, we have so many streams. Our beautiful Israeli society is so diverse. And the fact I was invited every day was basically sad because of these 4 factors I'll mention. I was secular, completely, very, very secular. Chiloni. I was Smolani. You know what Smolani is? When you look at the political spectrum, in Israel we don't have 2 parties, we have too many parties. But I was in the left side of the political spectrum. I really supported Rabin, Oslo agreements, maybe even lefter than Rabin. I was really in the left. So Chiloni, Smolani, Ashkenazi, okay, that I can't change. My ancestors are from Russia. So Chiloni, Smolani, Ashkenazi, and from Herzliya. I lived in Herzliya, and this picture was taken in Herzliya Studios, Ulpanei Herzliya, the largest, the best, the biggest in Israel. So I was walking 2 blocks from my house, okay, I just walked there. Nobody had to even order something, nothing. So basically, I think while I was sitting there, no Ethiopian kid was sitting there, no kid who just came from Russia or from the States, no kid who's Dati or Haredi, Orthodox, ultra-Orthodox, Masorti, conservative, traditional, no kid from the periphery, the south, Kiryat Shmona, the north, Kiryat Shmona, the south, Sderot, Eilat, no kid from a kibbutz or from a settlement, no kid who is Mizrahi, not Ashkenazi, no one was even Arabi. They're Israeli Arab kids in Israel, not Palestinians, Israeli Arabs. No one was there, just me representing the Israeli kid. No, I wasn't the average Israeli kid. And I think our challenge today, the Israeli media, we still face a lot of challenges. That's one of them. To make every child feel at home and every adult, he's represented, he's part of this beautiful structure of our society. So today, when I look back, what I try to do today in the Israeli media is change this equation. There's no right way to be the good Israeli. There's so many good Israelis out there, and we, the media, we should make them feel much better. That's maybe the story about journalism. Okay, we understand. I could continue forever working as an Israeli journalist, Baruch Hashem. But now let's move forward and talk a little bit about Judaism. Okay, what happened? Or many people come to me and say, okay, what happened? What's the problem? And I will elaborate a little bit. I think, I said earlier, I think I never had such a place like the MJE, never. a place that invites people to feel, to touch, to taste, to learn more about their identity. Until the age of 15, I never met a religious Jew. It sounds crazy, because it's the state of Israel. Never met someone who is dati. When I say dati, I mean Shomer Shabbat, okay? I don't care, you have all your definitions here, to the right, to the left, Hasidish, Yeshivish, modern, I don't care, all these, we have it in Israel too. When I say dati, no, we have all these Chardal, lights, this kind, Shas, Breslev, Chabad, I know, Baruch Hashem. We have a lot of strict streams and definitions. Okay. At the end of the day, I never met someone who is Shomer Kashrut. Never met someone who is Shomer Shabbat, keeps Shabbat, observes nothing. It's impossible, okay? It could happen in Israel. It's really sad. Today, I think, where I live today, 5 towns, it's really impossible. You can't live in 5 towns without meeting someone who's dati until the age of 15. Sorry, can't be. But unfortunately, in Herzliya, it was possible. So what happened? What happened is, I met 3 girls. And that's maybe one other message I want to convey. I think we have no idea how important we are, how influential we can be. I met 3 girls, where they were my age. I was 15, they were 15. They were average dati girls, Bnei Akiva girls, from the city of Beersheba in the south. I met them, and immediately, of course, I interviewed them. That's all I knew, that's what I did, everyone I met. So I told them, I must interview you. They said, why? I told them, what do you mean? 3 religious girls were found in the state of Israel. That's like a scoop. That's an item. I never thought you guys exist. What do you want? Okay. They said, okay, why don't you interview us? No problem. At the end of the conversation, they said, please, don't publish the interview. Please. I told them, why? And they say, it's going to be a fadicha. You know what fadicha is? How is your slang in Hebrew? Okay. It's embarrassing. It's humiliating. Your questions are silly. Your questions are clueless. You're really asking, don't publish the interview. You're really... Okay, I told them, okay, so what do you suggest? They said, boy the Shabbat. Come for Shabbat, see what Shabbat is all about. As an investigative journalist, I had a mission, I came. Took the bus from Herzliya to Beersheba. Came there. Everything I saw became holy in my eyes. Everything I saw was a holy custom. So, first thing I learned is to be nervous 15 minutes before Shabbat. It's a holy custom. Everything I saw, that people were like shouting, suddenly it starts, 15 minutes before Shabbat starts, it starts. People screaming, shouting, what did you do? Hot water, the towel, the oven, the dishes, but again. I was like, okay. The first time I came here, Shabbat started, I think it was like 4:30. And they invited me a few months later. Shabbat started 7:30. Once again, the whole thing, I was like, okay, something is wrong. I mean, there's something here. Maybe, I said to myself, maybe it's like a secret. They only tell them, the last minute, they tell them when Shabbat starts. And then they have to get ready. It's like a reality show. You have this race. You tell them that they start. Like, okay, maybe that's the explanation. Then I thought, you know what? In Alaska, Shabbat starts at midnight. Maybe there, they shouted, oh, it's 11:45, you didn't do anything all day. I don't know. Anyway, I want to tell you something. I still keep this custom. Every Shabbat, I do it as a holy tradition. I still do it. The first thing I learned, I still do it. But then I learned more serious things. We were lighting candles, and we had a beautiful Kabbalat Shabbat. We were singing the Haredi, and we were eating beautiful meals, delicious meals. We were sitting together, understanding. At the first, I remember the first time I was nervous. I mean, what's going on? I mean, okay, they're eating, and what? And now what? Let's eat and move forward. I mean, there are so many movies, cinemas, clubs. Let's do something. There are things on TV. No. You are the event. Nothing waits out there. Everything is in here. Okay? You eat and you experience. It was the longest meal I ever had. I was like, what's going on? What's wrong with these people? Don't you have something to do? Stop. That's what we're doing. You are part of the event. Nobody out there. It's not external. It's what's happening here. That's the event. Okay. I remember we walked to shul on Shabbat morning, and I was reading for the first time I heard the parasha. I had no idea we have this pulse called parasha the weekly portion we read. I learned it there, and we had Suda Shlishi and Avdallah. Everything was beautiful. Everything was nice. But I'll tell you something. These things did not make me, I didn't change. I didn't become Shomer Shabbat. What really changed me, and that will maybe be, I'll summarize with this story, and then maybe we'll open it up to like Q&A, if you have questions, answers, whatever, comments. But what changed me, and I think this story is extremely relevant today, to nowadays Jews. What changed me was, I think, the mechanism of Shabbat. It was the 7th time I was there. And once again, I was an investigative journalist. I was asking myself, what creates this special atmosphere? I liked the atmosphere. I mean, I saw things there that were pretty cool, and I said to myself, one day, when I'll get married, B'ezrat Hashem, I'll take it, I'll adopt these things, and I'll take it into my house. You know, the kiddush, I like the atmosphere, but I had no idea, how do you create such a nice atmosphere? And the answer is not so nice. The answer is very serious. The answer is sometimes very technical, very practical, very tachlis. I collected these strange stories. First story, I remember, we were sitting there, the little sister, she was 3, she was playing on the carpet with this microphone, electronic device with sounds, I don't know, games, I don't know, it was something. So she was playing with it, and her brother, he was 8, he walked there and said, "Oi, ma tosah ze avera. What do you do? It's a sin." So his mother told him, "Oh, Danny, calm down. She's just 3. You are 8. You are a big boy. For you, it's an avera." I'm like, okay, this family needs some help. Okay, she's 3. It's an avera. He's 8. She's not. It's not an avera. He's 8. It's an avera. And the mother explains, "What's going on here? It's just a microphone." So the girl, she was 3. She took it and she put it on the Shabbat table in the middle of the meal. So the father starts. Like, it comes there. I had no idea what is muktzeh, beshinui, how do you touch it, what do you do it. He was like dancing, I don't know. Putting it there, putting a towel on it. I'm like, why did you just turn it off? Like, what's going on here? Is there a doctor in this neighborhood? Really, this family is quite weird. And I was collecting all these stories, asking them, what do you do? Why? Why is it important? Why is it important? I remember one of my friends, as I said, we were 15, she said, one day she said to her mother, "Mommy, can I eat the cheesecake?" And I was thinking, it's kosher, it's your kitchen, why can't you eat the cheesecake? Now, look at her mother's response. Right? She was asking, "Mommy, can I eat the cheesecake?" Her mother started counting. And then the girl goes, no, Mommy, we benched at 2. We finished eating the meat at 1:30. Oh, new calculation. I'm like, okay, something's wrong here. What's the problem? Maybe they're counting calories. It's a new diet. I don't know. What's wrong? And they asked again, what's the problem with you guys? What's so important? Why do you care? 2 hours, 3 hours. Who cares? Who cares? I remember 2 brothers were talking about a sale in the mall, in Beersheba Mall. There was a huge sale on not Black Friday, but a Beersheba sale on Motzei Shabbat. So they said, okay, we need 2 jeans, 2 t-shirts for 30 shekels, with 3 and sneakers for 60 shekels, and we'll take the number 6 plus. They were planning everything. The father walks in and says, "Shh, Shabbat." I'm like, okay, they're just talking about it. They're not buying anything. Maybe you don't see, but maybe there was an Alexa there listening and ordering things. I don't know. Nobody's listening. They're just discussing, imagining. I don't know. Once again, you're not allowed to talk on these things on Shabbat. And you don't touch certain things. And you don't eat certain things. What's going on here? At the end of the day, I realized these people weren't crazy. They were committed. They weren't insane. They were devoted. And I became more committed because of these people. What I saw there impressed me. And I wanted to be a part of this commitment because I realized it's not just the atmosphere. That's just the superficial, the layer you see. When you dig into, when you want to understand really what Shabbat is all about, it's much more, I would say, serious. And I saw this beautiful picture that the Israeli artist Nir Menussi, who also became Shomer Shabbat, created this, I think, beautiful, beautiful explanation of what Shabbat is all about. What's written here? Can you see? What's the word? Yeah, the Ken, right? But the Ken is created out of? Lo. Many, many, many small law. How many law do we have here? Don't count, I'll tell you. 39. Why 39, of course? Lamed tet melachot. Sorry, lamed tes melachos. How do you say that? Sorry about that. Yeah, lamed tes melachos. Don't tell them in Israel, that's how I speak. Lamed tet menachot. So we take the Lamed tet menachot, the 39 things we're not supposed to do on Shabbat, the basic principles of Shabbat, and sometimes you can spend your whole life stuck between these no, everything is so frustrating. I can't eat this, I can't touch this, I can't do this, I can't drive, I can't text. But at the end of the day, from a bird's eye view, when you zoom out, you see it creates a huge can, a meaningful, sweet can. And I think that's what Shabbat is all about, but also what Judaism is all about. Because we need these fences, firm boundaries. We need these laws to create a can. And that made me, Baruch Hashem, Shomeret Shabbat. At the age of 19, I first had a big event, challenge, a big event with colleagues from the media on Friday night. I told them for the first time I can't come. They said, you're so primitive, you're narrow-minded, you're so nudnik, nebech, satmer, just satmer don't drive on Shabbat. We're more liberal, it's satmer, I can't come. Okay, I told them, I'm sorry I can't come. The next day they called me and said, we found another stupid, narrow-minded guy just like you among our colleagues, and he can't come. So we will postpone the event. It's going to take place it's going to happen Saturday night, Motzei Shabbat. I told him, okay, I'll come. At the entrance, one of the organizers there was standing there, accepting all the guests. Oh, here's the primitive Satmar, how are you? Stand here. I want you to meet the other nudnik. Because of you two, we had to change everything. Stand here, I'll call him, okay? His name is Yosef Meir. He walks there, comes back with this guy, that's my husband, Baruch Hashem. Hollywood, that's Hollywood in Israel. That's how I met my husband. Shabbat was the matchmaker. And I really saw how Shabbat brings more bracha into your life. So how many weddings did you say? 323. I think maybe Shabbat, what you do here with Shabbat can make this number even bigger. And I think that it's not, I don't tell you keep Shabbat and immediately you'll find your shidduch, okay? But it might help, it might bring more bracha into your life.